All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and forensically examine exactly how a local Scottish team pulled off what is honestly one of the most unbelievable upsets in sports history. The date is May 25th, 1967. The setting? The Estádio Nacional in Lisbon, Portugal. On one side, you've got the undisputed heavyweight kings of European football. And on the other, a scrappy squad from Glasgow that absolutely nobody outside of Scotland gave even a sliver of a chance. So today, we're going to deconstruct the blueprint of that monumental clash.
You know, winger Jinky Jones-Stone actually hit the nail on the head when he described the hilarious, stark contrast between the two teams waiting in the tunnel before the match. I mean, picture this. You've got the Italians, looking like literal movie stars with their slick back hair and perfect ombre solaire tans. And standing right next to them, the Celtic squad. Many of these guys were literally missing their top and bottom teeth, just flashing these huge, gumsy smiles back at them. It was a massive psychological culture shock before a single ball had even been kicked.
On paper, this was a mismatch of epic David and Goliath proportions. We're talking wealthy, international superstars going up against a group of local lads. Seriously, every single player on the Celtic squad was born within a 30-mile radius of Glasgow. They weren't these high-priced luxury transfers. They were working-class boys who knew each other's games inside and out. Inter Milan, on the other hand, managed by the legendary Helenio Herrera, had already won the European Cup twice in the previous 3 years. They were a total machine. Meanwhile, Celtic were kind of just thrilled to be on the adventure.
So, to figure out how Celtic achieved the impossible, we're going to apply the exact same blueprint that modern professional odds makers use. Analysts break down a game's true value using 4 key variables: the tactical playing model, physical conditioning, motivation and psychology, and finally, pitch quality and environment. We're going to use this analytical lens on 1967 to see exactly what tipped the scales.
Okay, part 1. A clash of tactics. Catenaccio versus the jungle. Inter Milan were the undisputed masters of Catenaccio. If you're not familiar, it translates to the bolt. It was an almost unbeatable, vault-like defensive system designed to just completely stifle whoever they were playing. They would happily invite you into their half, mark your attackers man-to-man, and keep a free-roaming sweeper, or liberero, way back to clean up any messes. And the second you lost the ball, bam, they'd hit you with these precise, surgical, devastating counterattacks. It wasn't always pretty for the neutrals, but man, it was ruthlessly effective.
But Celtic's manager Jock Stein decided to bring a battering ram to the party. He called it jungle football. He famously used his fullbacks in an unheard-of, hyper-aggressive attacking role to just overload Inter's defense. Instead of staying back, players like Tommy Gamel and Jim Craig pushed super high up the pitch, basically turning into extra wingers. In the eyes of football traditionalists, this was straight-up defensive suicide. But Stein had built a squad capable of relentless, high-volume attacking that actually defended from the front. He was literally pioneering the modern pressing game we see all the top teams using today.
Moving right along to Section 2, the psychology of winning and some seriously fearless conditioning.
So here's the crucial thing. Stein mentally conditioned his incredibly fit squad to be absolutely fearless. He even went so far as to bluff the somewhat arrogant Italians during a training session to completely throw them off. Get this, 2 days before the final, Inter showed up early to Celtic's training time, basically to spy on them. Stein realizes what's happening and immediately orders his players to just muck about. He sticks defenders up front, throws the goalie out on the wing, and they just have this chaotic, laughing kickabout. The Italians left thinking Celtic were an absolute joke. Stein brilliantly dismantled their respect and replaced it with blind overconfidence.
Which brings us to Section 3, the heavy pitch advantage, or as I like to call it, the Lisbon Quagmire.
Now, you might be wondering, wouldn't a terrible, heavy playing surface actually hurt the team trying to attack? It's a great question, and usually, yeah. Attacking football requires a slick, fast carpet to pop the ball around. But the Estádio Nacional was a completely different beast. And we have to look at why this specific quagmire backfired so badly on the defensive favorites.
It really comes down to the physics of the game. That heavy, sun-baked turf totally ruined Inter's crisp counterattacks, while their sweeping defenders quite literally ran out of fuel trying to track Celtic's relentless running. Every single time Inter tried to launch a precise counterpass, that thick grass just killed the ball's momentum dead. Celtic, though, their strategy wasn't about elegance, it was about overwhelming volume. So those Inter defenders, especially the sweeper, were forced into constant leg-draining changes of direction. Ultimately, the pitch acted like a filter, and Celtic were just plain fitter.
All right, Section 4, the execution, May 25th, 1967. Let's see how all of this actually exploded onto the pitch.
So things actually start terribly for Celtic. Sandro Mazzola scores a penalty for Inter in the 7th minute. At that point, everyone thought it was game over. Inter has the lead, they're just going to lock the vault, right? But Celtic didn't panic. Their physical dominance just kept coming in wave after wave. Finally, in the 63rd minute, that crazy overlapping fullback tactic paid off. Tommy Gemmell found himself at the edge of the box and unleashed an absolute 20-yard thunderbolt to tie it up. And then with just 6 minutes left on the clock, Bobby Murdoch drove a ball into the box and Stevie Chalmers masterfully prodded it home for the historic win.
Let's move to Section 5, by the numbers. Because if you think this was just a lucky underdog story, the data paints a very, very different picture.
The stats from this match are just jaw-dropping. 42 attempts on goal. 42! And this is against the absolute masters of Catenaccio, who only managed 5 attempts themselves. 10 corners for Celtic, 0 for Inter. Apparently, Inter's captain was so completely overwhelmed that at one point he actually begged his own goalkeeper to just let a goal in so the agony would end. Seriously, Celtic didn't just sneak away with a lucky win, they absolutely dismantled an empire.
And finally, Section 6, the Lisbon Lions' legacy, and what became a total paradigm shift for the sport.
The Lisbon Lions, as they came to be known, didn't just win a trophy that night. They completed an insane 5-tournament clean sweep that season. They proved that a Northern European, non-Latin team could actually compete with the Southern Giants. Heck, a couple of weeks later, they even traveled to Spain for Alfredo Di Stefano's testimonial match and beat Real Madrid 1-0 on their own pitch, basically just to prove to the whole world that Lisbon wasn't some crazy fluke. They paved the way for the highly mobile attacking football we love today.
Jock Stein's legacy is perfectly summarized right there. He cemented the idea that true grit and beautiful style can completely coexist at the highest possible level. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to win in a way that made neutrals stand up and applaud. He proved that a group of guys from the exact same working-class neighborhood could be molded into the best team on the planet through sheer belief, revolutionary tactics, and just unimaginable physical fitness.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Today, modern pitches are these precision-engineered carpets, perfectly watered so the ball glides around like it's on ice. And that's great, but it heavily favors wealthy teams with the most technically gifted superstars. It makes you wonder, has this highly sanitized environment completely erased the tactical magic of the Quagmire? If we still played on heavy, sun-baked, leg-draining turf like they did in Lisbon, would today's gritty underdogs have a better shot at running the Giants into the ground? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible blueprint with me. And hey, always keep questioning the variables behind the games we love.